Next, we have an update on the Loop app, which is brought to you by developer and community leader Marion Barker. Marion could not be here today for the best of reasons, her daughter's wedding, but she has kindly pre-recorded a very informative update on Loop. So we're going to watch that now. And then Mike Plant, as I mentioned, has generously offered to answer any questions you may have following Marion's video presentation. So give me 1 minute to get Marion's presentation loaded here.
Hello, I'm Marion Barker. Loop is one of several open-source automated insulin delivery systems widely used by people throughout the world. I both use Loop and help maintain and release updates to it. This chart shows Loop in the context of the larger AID framework. Above the timeline are open-source AID systems, with the first one available since 2015. Below the timeline are commercial systems, which were first publicly available in 2017. Loop uses a different algorithm than the other open source apps shown in this timeline. All of the iOS open source AID systems, apps available on iPhones, make use of the CGM pump and service software originally developed for Loop. Loop and Trio both use forks of the same submodule repositories. IAPS started by using copies of the code, which made maintenance more difficult. In late 2025, IAPS began the transition to use forks. The last thing I want to highlight on this slide is the Twist commercial AID system, available in 2025. Twist uses the Loop algorithm, which, after years of effort by the nonprofit Typepool organization, was approved by the FDA. Loop and Trio are different algorithms and are controlled by different developers, but use forks of the same CGM pump and service software. Most of the shared submodules were originally created for Loop and are controlled by the LoopKit owners. Newer device managers are coming from Trio developers. These are or will be available in DIY Loop. The use of LoopKit repositories by Trio reduced the burden on developers who provide support for keeping the shared submodule code up to date. To facilitate the timeline for early Trio development, the Loop and Learn GitHub organization created forks of the shared submodules and configured Trio branches that are, where possible, identical to the LoopKit GitHub organization repositories. There can still be slight differences in code needed for the different apps, and having Trio branches facilitates that. Because these are forks, it is straightforward to merge updates from LoopKit into Loop and Learn and vice versa. I spend a lot of time in the middle of this diagram preparing pull requests for updates and performing testing for both Loop and Trio. In March 2025, starting with version 3.6, I took over responsibility for Loop releases and updates to development code. Loop Workspace main is used for release code. Loop Workspace dev is used for development code. A structural change was instituted by adding the version override file to Loop Workspace to control the version number for DIY Loop. This replaced the old method, which required multiple pull requests to release a new version number. In addition, each update to dev is made using a formal PR with a version number increment. This replaces the old practice of keeping dev at a fixed version number between releases. DIY Loop has and will implement selected improvements from Typepool. There is careful separation between paid Typepool work and volunteer DIY activities. Updates from the public part of Typepool Loop are merged into LoopKit modules at appropriate intervals. Typepool Loop started with the DIY Loop code that went through the JABE study in 2019, but made improvements in the user interface and underlying architecture while adding onboarding and guardrails. DIY Loop 3 includes a lot of the improvements from Typepool Loop 1. Throughout the life of the Loop app, updates originated from both the DIY community and from Tidepool. For example, DIY Loop includes Tidepool features such as custom presets, also known as overrides, independent insulin models for non-pump insulin, favorite foods, and missed meal alerts. Another major update to DIY Loop using features from Tidepool is expected soon. Tidepool continues work toward Tidepool Loop 2, including updates to the algorithm for a future resubmission to the FDA. Upgrades to the user interface, user experience, and architecture are also coming. Volunteers like Pete, wearing their DIY hats, will be bringing in some updates from Tidepool Loop 2 to a testing branch of DIY Loop Workspace and associated submodules. After testing and review, these changes will be incorporated for wider DIY Loop testing. Eventually, this process will culminate in the next major release for DIY Loop. The graphics shown on this slide were created using the public Tidepool-org repositories. The main Loop screen, shown in the middle, has been modified compared to DIY Loop 3. It simplifies the display and enhances rapid access to important information. The right screenshot shows the insulin delivery status screen, one tap away from the main screen. Thank you. I can be reached via the usual social media channels where I use my full name. Zulip Chat is preferred.
Okay, hi guys. Any questions, please post them in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you do have any, but I'm going to bring Mike up just for a moment anyway, just in case. So,
Hello again.
hi, Mike. Okay, I don't see anyone posting directly in the Q&A. Is there any other comments you might want to make on Loop updates? Anything else anybody should know or be excited about?
I remember one thing Marianne mentioned to me is those screenshots from the Tidepool Loop repository that were put up there. The colors apparently will be more the DIY colors once that gets merged into the DIY Loop. So the color is a little different.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay, wait, it looks like we have one question. Here we go. Any chance that Loop will implement the confirmation-based remote functionality as Loop Follow Trio has implemented?
Yes, I believe that's being worked on.
Okay, a resounding yes, that's good. Oh, there we go. Can you see the additional question coming in?
Oh yeah, so not a Q&A question, but maybe hit on Dana was removed from the last Loop release and is now in a feature branch. So yep, so if you've been using, Dana was recently added into Loop DIY, but it was taken out in the last version. So if you're using Dana, you'll have to go to a feature branch. It's like feature/Dana, and Medtrum is also in that branch too. So Medtrum's available as well as Dana in a feature branch. And hopefully they'll get moved back to the actual branch soon.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're going to obviously have Mike and others be table leaders shortly. So if you want to talk more about updates to these apps, this is a great place.